Right then, let's get started, and those stragglers can join us as and when. So, morning everyone, and thanks for joining me for our One Tap webinar this morning. My name's Freddie, and I'm in the new sales team here at Receipt Bank. Just to check we're okay to get started, and before we dive into the finer detail, could you just quickly let me know in the box to the right hand side of your screen that you can hear me okay? Just a simple yes, no, whatever the weather's like outside, what you had for breakfast this morning, just before we jump into it. Great. Looks like you can all hear me. So I'm going to keep this webinar short and sweet, as One Tap really is that simple. I'll give you a quick snapshot of what the app actually looks like and the functionality, and show you how your sole traders would use it, and then what it would look like to log in and access the information as a partner of Receipt Bank. It shouldn't be longer than between 5 to 10 minutes, and there'll be a short question and answer section for you to ask any more specific questions that I don't cover. So, what is One Tap, and how is it going to completely revolutionize the way you work with your sole trader clients? Now that January's passed, many of you probably do not want to think about those sole trader clients for a while, but we've got the solution to make next year's January headache free right from the get-go. One Tap simply takes away all of the time-consuming, messy, arduous tasks associated with those self-assessment returns and data entry, completely eliminating data entry just through the tap of a button, making it an easy, fast, and most of all, simple process. It is the most profitable way to service your sole traders on an ongoing basis rather than that mad rush. We already have thousands upon thousands of clients using it on a daily basis. So just to get a rough idea of your client base or your non-VAT sole trader client base at the moment, could you please let me know how many of those non-VAT sole trader clients you're currently working with through a quick poll that I'm going to run now? Just give you 30 seconds or so on that before we discuss those quickly. Great, so I'm just going to shut that off and share the results. So, a good number of you, or 2/3 of you on the webinar today are between 50 to 150. So I'm not sure how the process has been working before, but I imagine it is pretty long, pretty arduous, and you are there chasing those clients. We know a lot of accountants who deal with sole traders experience a very high and inconsistent influx of work just through the market research that we conduct and speaking to our current partners who have those non-VAT sole traders, particularly in January. And I bet you're glad that January is now over and you've had a couple of weeks to calm down. I'm sure those shoe boxes or envelopes are things that you never want to see again. And the items within are then manually put into spreadsheets and separated into what can actually be claimed versus what actually can't, before even getting to that self-assessment form. So the beauty with One Tap is it really is just as simple as that one tap. The sole trader is encouraged to take photos themselves, and that is all the involvement that they need. The sole trader can experience an easy, stress-free, fast way of submitting their expenses straight to you all year round, rather than hoarding them in glove boxes, shoe boxes, in their van, etc. Not only means that the client can snap a photo on the go, meaning that they don't have to worry about that storage, but they also know it's safely in the hands of their accountant or advisor, i.e. yourselves, meaning that their job is done and they can just wait for you to provide them with that self-assessment form. So that's it from a client's point of view. What does it actually mean from an accountant's point of view? So you have real-time, remote access to all of their expenses all year round, rather than just waiting for October, November, December, January to see what they're going to bring you. It's a continuous stream of information, completely eliminating that rush and the panic that I keep talking about, because it is so poignant. You have, through real-time submission, data extraction, and the auto-categorization into the 9 self-assessment categories, the whole process is really streamlined and simplified through the automation and the cloud. This also means you're able to have a more consistent relationship with those clients, offering them advice on how to save money at every stage of their business throughout the year rather than just at the end. So let's jump into a quick demo and show you what it looks like from a client's point of view, and then show you what it looks like from a partner's point of view, i.e. accountants and bookkeepers. So on the screen here, you'll see our one-tap app. So if I come across to take a photo by selecting this button here, the camera button, very similar to a receipt bank. Click the photo. And there it is. You can see it in processing on the screen there. And we'll always store that image as well. So the clients can submit via the mobile app. You can see exactly what they've saved this month. You can also see what you're on track to save for the whole year, enough for a monthly gym membership. But as well as the mobile app being the most efficient way, we also have the email in method, very similar again to the receipt bank email in method. And so it really just provides that visibility over all of their expenses and so on. So if you come to all, again, you can see exactly what's here. This is my personal, so it's quite varied. But if you come into the HMRC button at the bottom, if we go to 2015-16, you can see what expenses are populated into the 9 self-assessment categories. So other business expenses, £21. And you can download as a PDF CSV. And again, you've got exactly the same for this tax year, broken down very nicely at the top. So that is really it. Very, very simple submission from the client to keep their minds as clear as possible. That is all they need to do. You as the accountant are then providing them with that self-assessment, with that ongoing business advice that they actually need, especially as a small business, seeing as their cash flow may be tight and they need to monitor that closely. So let's look at it from a partner's point of view, i.e. an accountant. So I'm sure you all recognise this dashboard. This is the Receipt Bank dashboard, the practice platform that we call it. These are for your limited companies with these metrics. The non-VAT sole traders are on the bottom without these metrics because of the no integration with any cloud accounting software at the moment. You can also identify these non-VATs by the different logos. So if we jump into Steve the Suit Maker, you can see here, similarly as reflected in the mobile app, these 9 self-assessment categories. Through the auto-categorization, when the clients submit, they will jump into one of these categories. Yes, you can move them around, but our software is developed enough that very, very rarely will you have to move anything around. So let's just jump into these other business expenses. This is our demo account, so not what I've just submitted. But again, you can see exactly what's in the other business expenses. You can see boots and orange. So if we jump into boots, you've seen me just submit a receipt. The receipt is always stored in Receipt Bank. And then the data is always extracted on the right-hand side. Like I said, you can move these around to one of these 9 self-assessment categories. Pretty easy. You can also, if it's unclaimable, as the accountant, if you think your client's submitting unclaimable items, tick the box and that's it. It will just remove them. So rather than having to sift through all of that paperwork at the end of the year, what's claimable, what's not claimable, you can do it as and when. So it's not, again, coming back to a mad rush at the end of the month. So we've touched on the pre-populated self-assessment form. You may well be wondering, right, I've got between 50 and 150 sole traders. How am I going to invite them to this? How am I going to actually make them submit? So we've recently released a SMS invite feature. So all you have to do when you get a new client up and running through the dashboard is send them a text through Receipt Bank, through one tap. They will then get a text message saying, John Smith, your accountant, has invited you to download it. It will take them straight to the one tap app, download it, and they're on your dashboard ready to start submitting. And I'm sure all of those non-VAT sole traders are out on the go. They've got mobile phones, smart mobile phones. Why can't they just submit as and when? Great. So that is it from a partner point of view, from a client point of view. Very, very straightforward. It really is a stripped down version of Receipt Bank purely for those non-VAT sole traders. So let's jump back into the presentation quickly. So what are the benefits for you as their accountant? You can see 4 bullet points on the screen. So efficiency and streamlined workflow. We've touched on that already, but it just eliminates that mad end of year rush. Not only by you, but those sole traders bringing in the paperwork, you chasing the sole traders. It's unfair on both of you. Why not provide them with something like this? A hassle-free relationship with all of your clients. No overtime or extra staff needed in January. Reduce costs and increase profits. So by eliminating a lot of that manual data entry, you can actually dramatically reduce the time and the cost spent on servicing those sole traders. So you can then look at increasing your profits by perhaps offering a more value-added service or even taking on more sole traders. And because this process is so straightforward, why can't you take on more sole traders? A competitive advantage. So OneTap allows you to stay ahead of the curve when it comes to sole traders in the cloud. We have, like I touched on, had thousands upon thousands of downloads from the App Store, but many of those downloads, i.e. non-VAT sole traders, don't actually have an accountant. So there's a big market out there to take on new sole traders without almost having to do any work. So finally, the client experience. We've spoken about it, but the client, all they need to do is take a photo. That's literally all they need to do. That's all the involvement they need. How easy is that? You've then got the real-time information for your client. The client's happy because they're not storing paperwork, and they are then receiving the real-time information. So that is it in a nutshell. Just I want to pull up a couple of reviews that we've had on the App Store. So fairly self-explanatory, useful and friendly app, easy to use. I'm a sole trader whose office is my van. I can scan receipts instantly, on the go. Would definitely recommend it. So as I briefly touched on, there are upward of 3.3 million sole traders in the UK, up to half of which don't even have an accountant yet. With OneTap, you can offer those existing and prospective sole trader clients a higher value and more regular service, while developing that client relationship even further. It's your chance to be ahead of the game, and simply by becoming a partner, you'll have the ability to connect thousands of sole traders just by a click of a button. So again, a couple of another 5-star reviews, brilliant. Do please go and have a look on the App Store, Google Play Store, just clarify it in your mind what it is, how people are reviewing it. So how can you become a OneTap partner? Simply speak to one of the team to get up and running with partnership. Whether you're an existing partner of ours or indeed a new partner, you can begin inviting all of your sole traders instantly through the SMS invite. Through the partnership, you can purchase OneTap licenses in bundles, starting at 25, 50, etc., etc. Being a OneTap partner also means that you will have a 4-digit unique code. So that unique code you can post on your website, post on your shop window, and for all those users that I've touched on who have downloaded the app but don't have the accountant, that's a fantastic way to bring them in. Sticky relationship. So I'm now going to open it up to some questions. Please do feel free to ask any questions. I'm aware that it's now 1:45, so we've overrun a little bit, but happy to answer a few. But beyond that, members of the team will be in touch. Great, so we've got a couple of questions coming in. So, 1, can they download it and pay for it themselves? Clients can download the app for free, as we've briefly touched on, but they won't be able to access any of that information, which is why with that 4-digit unique code, you can provide them with the information that they need. And this is where the partner program comes in. So secondly, how may this change the relationship with my sole trader clients? Good question. So we hope and have started to see that there is now a client experience being introduced to the tax return process. Clients who are actually more engaged, less likely to look elsewhere for new accountants, and are more susceptible to upselling in the future as they grow with you. Finally, can I recategorize expenses? So I did touch on that during the webinar, but yes, you can. Through that drop down, like I showed, you can just move them about dependent on what category they want to go into. Great. So one more question. What about income? So yeah, one tap deals with the costs. So the costs we have found and through market research is about 80% of non-VAT sole traders, which is where the SA103 sits. So the idea is we're automating the expense side of things as the first release. As it's a new product, we'll continuously be looking to update, add new features, have feedback, listen to our current clients, prospective clients. But there's nothing to say that perhaps income won't be coming. But yeah, costs, like I said, is 80% of those non-VAT sole traders. Great. Looks like all of those questions have been answered. I'm going to end the webinar now, but thanks ever so much for all your time. I will follow up with an email, but my colleagues will also be in touch to get the ball rolling, because I know some of you, or two-thirds of you, have a rather large number of non-VAT sole traders. So thanks massively for your time, and speak to you soon.